friends, it's Christy, and I'm so happy to be back with you on the My Favorite Things YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be making a card using the new Bertie Brown set called Birthday Buds. So I have taken all the images that I'll be using and stamped them on some Nina Solar White cardstock with black licorice hybrid ink. This set is super versatile. It has a lot of different critters to it. I decided to focus on the farm animals for today, so those are what I have stamped out. I'm coloring with my Copics, and starting with my pig, I'm using YR000, YR00, YR01, and YR02. I prefer to color darkest to lightest, so I'm laying in my shadows with the YR02. And I'm going to have a central light source today, so I'm shading the animals in the direction that they're facing. So if they're facing toward the right, they will have their shadows on the left, and if they're facing toward the left, the shadows will be on the right. So I'm going to blend those out with the YR01, and then go a little bit further with the YR00. Now, you don't have to use 4 shades in your coloring, but I wanted to have a lot of contrast and to keep things really soft in the center, so that's why I went for adding in that YR000 as well. So I just colored in his belly and a little of his face with that. And then for his nose, I'm using YR02 and YR01, and then just filling in the little nostrils with YR000. I really love black-faced sheep, so that's what I'm coloring this little guy to look like. I am using W3, W5, and W7 for his face and his feet, and I will go back and do his ears. I forgot to do those at first, but I will realize and do those in just a second. So I laid in the shadows with the W7, and then I'm pulling out with the W5, and then the majority of his face is going to be that W3. I want to be really careful not to lose his eyes in the darkest areas. I think critters can look a little bit lifeless if you make the eyes too dark, so I was really careful to keep those nice and visible. And then for his wool, I'm going to lay in some shadowed areas with the W1 and then soften that with the W00 and let that fade into the white. For my chicken, I colored the bottom half of her body with those same warm grays as I used for the sheep's wool. And then for her head, I'm using E51, E53, and E55. And then for the chick, I'm going to use Y11, Y13, and Y15. Again, laying those shadows on the back side of the body and bringing the mid-tone and the highlight toward the front. And then for my cake, I wanted it to look white, so I'm going to do a little quick shading with BG10 and BG11, just coloring right over those designs. And then I will come in off screen and do some of those accessory images. I am going to color in some of the flags on screen that are wrapped around the little pig's body, just so you can see how I did those. I colored 2 of them with the same yellows as the chick, and then the next little section I'm doing orange with YR04 and YR07. Then the next ones I'm using a nice bright pop of pink with RV13, RV14, and RV17. And you can see that I'm doing the middle section of that cake with some different colored polka dots to match those flags. I'm actually drawing all of my color choices from the pattern paper that I'll be using, which I'll show you in just a little bit. The green flags I did with YG05, YG07, and YG09, and I decided to do the one that is kind of sticking out from the top of his body with those shades as well. And then the blue is BG45 and BG49, and I'm also going to color the stripes on the lower part of the cake with these 2 shades. I did the balloon in the same yellows as the chick, and now I'm going in with the RV11 and giving all of the critters some rosy cheeks. And once I'm finished with that, I will trim all of these out with their matching dies. For my background, I'm going to take a piece of Bristol Smooth Surface cardstock, and I'm going to sponge on some tumbled glass Distress Oxide ink using the Cloud Stencil. So I'm just using a very light pressure and making sure that that is lined up really well. And then as I move down the panel, I'm going to just turn that stencil so that I get a different cloud design. And I'll continue down that panel until I have the whole thing filled in. And once I have, I will just turn that panel and add a little extra color to that bottom area so it's not so stark white and just matches the rest of the panel. Then I will tap a little bit of that ink onto my work surface and thin that out with a little bit of water and pick that up with a paintbrush, and I'm going to add some splatter detail to the panel. I think this just adds a bit of interest and gives it, a little extra texture. So I'll just flick that all over the panel with that paintbrush by tapping it against my finger, and then I'll set this aside to dry. Meantime, I'm going to take some Shabby Shutters Distress Oxide ink and blend that onto a panel about halfway up. I'm just doing an initial wash right now, so it doesn't have to be perfect by any means. Then I'll grab the Tucked In Turf Die-namics. This is the vertical version, and I trim that out, and then I'm going to take some Bundled Sage Distress Oxide, which is just a little bit darker, and add some depth to that top grass line, and then I'll also tuck in a piece of cardstock into those little inserts with the grass so that I can add some more detail with that ink as well. And to add even more detail, I will also do that same splatter technique by tapping that ink onto my work surface and just picking it up and splattering it onto the panel and then setting that aside to dry. Once both panels have dried fully, I've taken the A2 Stitch Rectangle Stacks Set 2 and trimmed them both out, and I've also trimmed down the grass panel to be a little bit shorter because I want to use this You Take the Cake Die-namics, and I needed that grass not to go up quite so high. So I've trimmed that out of the panel, and here I did make a slight mistake. I should have left those letters in for now. It would have made my rest of my card a little bit easier, but anyway, it was still easy to figure out because I did want to use those. I've added some thin score tape all around the die cut, and now I'm adding a piece of acetate to the back of that so that I can make this card into a shaker. So here you can see where it would have been easier to transfer these letters onto a piece of white cardstock if I had left them in the panel and just added glue behind the letters. As it was, I had to pop them back into the die and add the glue to the back and then just press the white cardstock over top. So now I'm adding a bunch of shaker material over top of that white panel. I've used some different size glitters and some sequins and some little stars, and added foam tape to the back of the focal panel. And now I just need to line that up nice and straight and then press that down into place over top of the letters so that I have a seamless cloud border in the background. For my card base, I've used some snow cone cardstock, and then I'm taking the little mouse holding the cheese with the candle in it and the sentiment that says, wishing you the happiest birthday ever, and finishing off the inside with that. And then I've trimmed down my pattern papers from the Sweet Celebration 6x6 pad, and I'm going to adhere those to my card base. First is this polka dot print, and that is where I took both my color inspiration and the way that I colored in the middle layer of the cake. And then I'm going to add this Harlequin print right over top of the center, going horizontally. Then I'll take my focal panel and peel off the remaining release paper and add some liquid glue where it needs it, and then line that up in the center of the card and press that down into place. Then I've got my grass panel that I'm going to add some more liquid glue to. I want to be careful not to add any glue behind those little inserts where you can add your critters, because I want to be able to tuck my animals down inside. you know, as it's called, the tucked in turf. So I want to be able to utilize that. To help me be able to pick them up, I'm just opening up the card and kind of just bending it the slightest bit so that that grassy border pops up. So I added the little pig to the one on the left, and then the birthday cake is going in the one on the right. Then I'll have the little chick, and she's going to be standing in front of the pig. It's her birthday in my little scene in my head, so she's all excited about her birthday cake. The hen I'm going to add up on top of the T, so she's up there observing the scene and kind of directing things. And then the little sheep I'm going to have drifting off over on the left. And that finishes off my card for today. I'll lift that up so you can see all of the detail and another peek at the inside. Give you a look at all that shaker material in action. So I hope you guys enjoyed the February edition of Christy Gets Crafty with my favorite things. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button and leave me a comment down below. I love interacting with you guys down there. Also, don't forget to subscribe to My Favorite Things for more inspiring videos just like these here on screen. Bye-bye!